Good morning, friends. It's great to be with you again. I'm going to speak to you today from John chapter 7, which is our mass reading today. You can go there and find it in the mass readings online. It's a story really about the state police, if you like, in Israel, who were sent to arrest Jesus, and they failed to do that. And then they come back to the Pharisees who had sent them off to do that thing, and they report to the Pharisees that they haven't done it. And the Pharisees ask them why, and they say it's because the people fear Jesus, they think he's a prophet. And the Pharisees say to the police, "You have been deceived by that rabble. They are damned." Now I just want to pause there for a minute to think about the Pharisees. They were the religious professionals of their day. They were the authorities, if you like. And one of the things we learn over and over and over again in the Gospels when we look at the behaviour of the scribes and the Pharisees is that their authority, their power had gone bad. And we need to acknowledge the fact that authority in human hands, any type of authority, especially religious authority, can go bad really, really easily. It can go bad really quickly. Why is this? It's because the human heart takes power and it twists it and it turns it into something that is utilised and used for the good of the person who has it, instead of the good of the people for whom it was given in the first place. It's of course a classic quote from George Orwell. All power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Until you get to the stage where you're a Pharisee and you're talking about the people you're supposed to be serving and calling them rabble and saying they're damned. You haven't been listening to them, have you? So what's the spiritual law here we can learn? Well, one of the spiritual laws is that people in positions of authority, particularly positions of religious authority, need to check themselves. With great power comes great responsibility. Not many of you should presume to be teachers, because they will be judged more harshly, it says in the book of James. So those in authority, those to a certain extent like me, who wear collars and have titles and so on, need to check themselves. But I would suggest that the spiritual law here is there's something important, central about humility. The fact is the Pharisees had become arrogant. They had become puffed up with pride through their learning, through their position and so on. And the rabble, that mass of people who accepted Jesus, they were humble because they were ordinary folk. They didn't lift their eyes to high things. They weren't learned. They weren't important. They weren't powerful. And that humility, that lack of self-righteousness, self-importance, that gave them the capacity to see who Jesus was. Friends, when it came to Jesus, the authorities, the experts, they got it bang wrong. And it was the humble folk, it was the rabble who got it right. Let's take that into our souls today. Let's remember that knowledge puffs up, authority puffs up, position puffs up, status puffs up, but love builds up. And God opposes the proud, but he gives grace to the humble. Amen.